The test out video about routing did not clearly show us how to configure the OSPF routing configuration, so I decided to create this video as a supplement. Hopefully that you will learn something from this video. There are two types of routing. They are the dynamic and static routing. In this video I'm only talk about the dynamic routing. There are many ways that we can configure dynamic routing. However, the most two commonly used are the RIP and the OSPF configuration. RIP and OSPF are two interior gateway protocol, or IGP, that are commonly used in the computer network. Routing Information Protocol, or RIP, is a method that the network uses distance vector protocol, or simply the number of hops, to determine the transmission route. Open Shortest Path First, or OSPF, is a method that the network uses link state protocol. That is an algorithm that determines the fastest and shortest path to transmit the information. Okay, so let's look at an example right here in the diagram so we can understand more. Assuming that traffic want to go from the router 0 to router 3, and there are two paths to get from router 0 to router 3, the bottom and the top. Now if you look at the bottom have lesser router or lesser hop. So this is hop 1, hop 2, this is third hop. For the top you have 1 hop, 2 hop, 3 hop, 4 hop. So for the RIP configuration it will definitely use the bottom because it uses the lesser number of hops. Okay. Now for the OSP it will definitely use in the top. The reason why? Because if you look at it, the bottom is transmit at 100 megabit per second. The top is transmit at 10 gigabit per second. Just think about these are two highways. The bottom has a limit of 100 miles per hour. The top has a limit of 10,000 miles per hour. So if driving from router 0 to router 3, definitely the top one would be much faster. Okay. So RIP is a vector-based protocol, and the maximum number of hops is 15. In other words, you can only have 15 routers for that network. Cannot go past 15. For the OSP, there's no limited number of routers because it uses a link state protocol. For the RIP, it updates the routing table in this router every 30 seconds. For the OSPF, it's only update when there is a change on the network. Okay. So in conclusion, RIP is more suitable for small network, and OSPF is much suitable for larger enterprise network. Alright, let's make a configuration. Now in here we have 3 subnet, and there are 2 offices. One office is located in Hamlet, North Carolina. The other is located in Charlotte. So the Hamlet office will use the subnet of 192.168.100.0/24. There are many PC in here, okay, hundreds of them. Now the one in Charlotte will use the subnet of 192.168.200.0/24. And of course, to connect from Hamlet to Charlotte, we must use a router. Okay, and these routers must connect through a serial cable because from Hamlet to Charlotte is very far away. So our ISP has provided the company with the public IP address of 185.197.1.0/30. What does we mean by /30 side notation? /30 meaning that there are only 4 available IP addresses. that is 185.197.1.0, 185.197.1.1, 185.197.1.1.2, and all the way to .3. So there are only 4 available IP address. However, the first IP address is reserved for what? For the network ID. And the last IP address of this subnet is reserved for the what? Broadcast ID. So in reality, there are only 2 valid IP addresses that we can use. That is the .1 and .2. And what is the /30 subnet mask? Well, the /30 subnet mask is 255.255.255.252. Okay? So there are only 2 available IP addresses that I can assign to these 2 routers. Alright. Now let's look at these routers right here. We want to connect from this router to this router through a serial port. Now if I click on the router, I notice that there's no serial port, okay, available right here. These are only the auxiliary and console port, and these are the Ethernet port. So there are no serial. So how do you do that? Well, I need to purchase a separate module called the WIC module, or HWIC-2. So I can insert that module into this slot or this slot right here. Either one's fine. I'm going to put on this slot, but watch happen. Here you go. It said the power is on. Yes, right there. The power is on. So we have to turn it off first. So insert the module to that, and then we make sure to turn the power back on. Notice that it initialized the router, or started or boot up the router for right now. Let's do the same thing for this router. Turn power off, insert the module to that, turn power back on. Alright. Now I need to go ahead and connect this switch to the router and connect to port gigabit 00. Okay, and I also do the same thing for this right here, gigabit 0. Now I connect the serial from this router using serial 1/0 to this right here, the same port. Then I can connect the router to the internet, to my ISP or the internet service provider, wherever that is. Okay, so I'm done with that connection. Now what I need to do, I need to configure this as the RIP configuration. Before I do that, let me go ahead and save it first, because I will use the same thing to configure the OSPF. So I'm going to call it RIP configuration. Alright. Click on the router and then no, enable CompT. Now what I want to do, I want to configure the port for this networks right here. Okay, that's the gigabit 0, and also for this WAN, that is S01/0. So for this port right here, it's connect to the local area networks right here, and the subnet mask is 192.168.100. So the IP address that will need to be configured to this port on the router is 192.168.100.1, the smallest IP address of this subnet. Okay, of course you can use any IP address, but I prefer to use that one. As a matter of fact, most network engineering, they either use the smallest valid IP address or the largest valid IP address, that is to the .254 IP interface gig 0/0. IP address 192.168.100.1. What is the subnet mask for /24 255.255.0. Okay, and what's the next command? No shut. Always remember to type no shut when you configure the IP address for a port. Now the next thing, I need to configure the IP address for this serial port right here. So interface S010 IP address. Now this serial port right here is belong to the WAN, the wide area network. So I will use these subnets right here, 185.197.1.1 and /30 cited notation. What is the subnet mask? 255.255.252. Again, no shut. Alright, I'm done with this router. So I need to do the same thing for this router. Okay, no, enable CompT. Alright, interface 00, IP address 192.168.200. Notice that this port right here on the router connect to these local area networks right here. So its subnet is .200. So my IP address will be the smallest valid IP address of this subnet. So that is .1. Subnet mask 255.255.252. Oops, wrong. No IP address. Alright, that is to delete this line right here. I make a mistake, so I type the word no and just follow the same thing, IP address, it will delete that line. So now let me start again. IP address, it should be 255.255.0. okay. Alright, no shut. Alright, let me verify that was correct. Here you go, that's correct. Okay, alright. Now the next thing, what I need to do, I need to configure the serial port right here. Exit interface S010 IP address. Now this is the part of the VLAN, I mean not VLAN, the WAN, okay, network. So it will use these subnets right here, and we already used .1 for this side, so I'm going to use .2 for that side. 185.197.1.2. What is subnet mask? 255.255.252, because that is the /30 cited notation. What's the next command? No shut. Alright, so I'm done with that. Show run, make sure that's correct and that's correct. Okay, alright. Now the next thing, or the last thing that we need to do, we need to configure the RIB, or the dynamic RIB routing. Okay, so we need to configure the RIB routing. Alright, these are the commands right here. Route RIB version 2, then the network, simply put in all of the subnet of the area right here of this network. Okay, CompT route RIB version 2 route network 192.168.100. that is one of the subnet. The other one is .200, and the last one is 185.197.1.0. Okay, notice that the network all subnet, this subnet, this subnet, this subnet. This whole network right here has 3 subnets, so I simply include them in here. Now I should be able to ping it, should have no problem. Alright, let's look at it, let's test it. Now I already assigned IP address to this PC and the switch already to save your time, so we won't have too many minutes on this video. So ping .200.10, which is the IP address of this right here. Let's make sure that should be correct. Yep, .200. Alright, let's try it again. 200.10. Alright, so it does not work. Well, let's look at it, see what happened. I must make some configuration wrong somewhere. This is a good troubleshoot. Show run, and the gigabit 0 is supposed to .1, and that's correct. And for the serial 1 and 252. That's correct. So this one looks good. And for the I have not configured the RIP configuration for this switch, this router. Let's look at this right here. I configured that for this router, but have not done that for this router. So comp T route rib version 2 network 192.168.100.0 and .200.0 and .185.197.1.0. Okay. Alright, let's look at it. Show run. There you go. It's right here. Now there's another command that we can look at it. It's called a show IP route. Okay. Now this one will give us some more indication. Let's look at this right here. L stands for local, C for connected, S for static, R for RIP. So we are configuring the RIP routing. So we need to look at for RIP or R. Look at this right here. R. Here you go. It said that to get to the 192.168.200 subnet, you must go through this IP address right here that is on the serial 01.1. Let's see, does that make sense? If you don't want to think about it, it does make sense. Alright, if you are in this router, you want to get to this subnet right here, you need to go to this serial port right here, and the IP address of this serial port is right there, and that's correct because this subnet right here is right there. You want to go to this subnet, you must go through this IP address that is this port right here. So it makes sense, right? Let's look at this side. Show IP route. Now if you want to go to this subnet, you must go to this IP address which belongs to this port. And again, let's look at it. There you go. Alright. So you are in here. You want to go to this subnet right here, or this network, which is right here, 192.168.100. Okay, again, right there. Then you have to go to this port right here, and the IP address of that is 185.197.1, which just makes sense. Let's look at it. Here you go. There. You in here, you want to go to right here, you have to go to this door. This is the door. That's the only way you can get to that right there. Makes sense. Alright, let's look at our pinging. It should ping okay now. There you go. Alright, see if we can ping the .11, which is this right here. There you go. So that's how you configure dynamic RIP or RIP